I'm going to walk you through exactly what foods to eat and to avoid while training for your half or full marathon. My name is Tony Johnson, and I've been running marathons for a few years now. My first one was about 5 years ago, and I've ran a few marathons so far, and I've also helped hundreds of runners train for half and full marathons, and so I have a good understanding of what foods to eat and to avoid while training for your half or full marathon. I also know how the foods you eat will affect your performance, because if you eat the wrong foods, right, you eat a bunch of sweets and junk food and you're eating out, well, then you'll feel sick, tired, and lethargic while you're training. And if that's the situation, you just aren't able to give your training 100%. And if you can't give your training 100%, how do you think you're gonna do on your half or full marathon? Right? You simply just won't do well. But on the flip end, if you are eating clean, healthy foods, and you are making sure you're eating enough food, well, then you're going to be able to perform a lot better. Think of it like I'll give you an analogy here. Think of running a marathon is equivalent to getting in your car and driving across the country. And so when you get in the car, what's the first thing you do? You make sure you have enough gasoline in the car, because if you don't, you may only get, let's say you're starting in California, you may only get to like Nevada or Utah or something like that before you run out of gas. And it's the same thing with your body. If you're not fueling properly, maybe because you're trying to lose weight, which I'll talk about here in a sec, or you're just not paying much attention to either the food you're eating, or you're on a work schedule that doesn't really allow for a consistent timing of when you should eat, it's very easy to undereat. And if you're undereating, you're eating less calories. And if you're eating less calories, well, then you have less energy. If you have less energy, you're not going to perform as well. And so you have to treat your body, and you got to think of food as fuel, and you got to think of your body as like a car, right? And think of running a marathon and training for a marathon is like driving across the country. And so if you want to run a marathon, well, we got to make sure you have a full gas tank, full gasoline, which means that you're eating at least 3 meals a day. You know, you're having quality sources of protein, quality sources of carbs, drinking enough water, healthy fats, etc. And I'll break down all these foods in a sec. And the other thing I hear a lot when people are training for half or full marathons is they want to lose weight too. And this is a wrong approach to go about it, because you have two different goals. And there's a saying, if you try to chase two rabbits, you catch neither one. Meaning, if, let's say nutrition is the variable, right? Nutrition is the lever that will be pulled based on these two goals of running, training for performance, and losing weight. And the nutrition dictates the levers. And if you're trying to do both, where you're trying to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight, you may lose weight, but your performance is going to be down. But on the flip end, if you eat for performance, you'll feel better, you have more energy, you push yourself, you'll do better on your race, but you'll be eating in a calorie surplus, so you won't lose weight. And so you have to, if you have two different levers, or you have one lever, two different goals, you have to decide of the two you want to chase. And so going back to that analogy, or the saying, if you try to chase two rabbits, you'll catch neither one. You have to decide which rabbit you want to chase. Do you want to chase the rabbit that's performance, or do you want to chase the rabbit that's nutrition? If you go back and forth, you'll catch neither one. You have to decide on which one you want to chase, and then forget about the other one. And so if you're training for a marathon, I highly suggest and recommend that you only focus on performance, and that you just forget about trying to lose weight, especially if it's like 5 or 10 pounds. Because another thing I've noticed is when someone says they want to lose 5 or 10 pounds, it's not necessarily the weight on the scale, it's more about how they look. Body composition, tonality, the muscle definition, if they have stubborn belly fat or something along the lines of that, they correlate losing weight to reducing body fat. And if that's the case, it's not that you want to lose weight, it's actually that you want to build lean muscle, which is body composition. And so if that's the situation, then you definitely want to eat for performance. Now, if you have to lose, 50 to 100 pounds, and you're trying to decide between the two, you're probably better off starting with losing weight. But what I've noticed with all the people I've talked to and all the people I've worked with is that usually, more often than not, people only want to lose anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds. And if you do that, then you definitely just want to focus on eating for performance and let the rest kind of fall into place. And so the foods that I would recommend eating, and going more off a framework to start, because here's another thing, is if you try to stick to a diet, then it's very hard to sustain it, especially if it restricts your favorite foods. Like there's a study about all the people who have tried to lose weight and done the weight loss programs. It says about 90-ish, 95% of the people who try to lose weight put the weight back on. And why does that happen? Well, it's because they're following a diet that they can't sustain and they can't be consistent with. And if you can't do it for a day, you're not gonna do it for the rest of your life. And so if, let's say, for example, you're trying to lose weight and you take the keto diet, you're essentially cutting out carbs, right? Okay, that's 33% of your food intake. You're not eating any carbs. It's gonna affect how you feel, your energy levels and whatnot. So you may lose weight in the short term because you're eating less food, but you're just gonna put that weight back on down the road because that's not sustainable. And so you're better off figuring out what foods that you like to eat, and then also in terms of losing weight, you're better off putting a strategy in place where you can still maintain and enjoy those foods on occasion. Like, for example, would be the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the foods are clean and healthy, the other 20%, that's more of the junk food. Or I prefer doing a reward system where if I hit my goals Monday through Friday, then on Saturday I will enjoy, a cheat meal or whatever. And so that's more of the framework I like to go. But in terms of, so the framework for foods, right? I like to have a quality source of protein and a quality source of carb for each and every meal. So for breakfast, quality source of protein, quality source of carbs. Same with lunch, same with dinner. And so a typical day of eating, which I would recommend, is for breakfast, eggs and oatmeal. Now, another layer and a component to nutrition is the amount of food that you're eating. And the nutrient, the macronutrient I pay most attention to is the amount of protein you're eating, because if you're trying to build lean muscle and recover better, it's important that you are getting enough protein in. And the general guideline that I like to abide by is 0.8 to 1.0 grams of protein per body weight. So if you're 100 pounds, you want to eat 80 to 100 grams of protein per day, which for most people that comes to about 30 grams of protein for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then having a snack or a post-workout protein shake that are also more protein rich. And so a typical day of eating that I would do and what I would recommend and what most of my clients they do is, so for like breakfast, a solid one would be eggs and oatmeal. Each egg has about 6 grams of protein, some say 7, but if you have 4 eggs, okay, that's 25 grams of protein right there. And then for lunch, having chicken, could be some steak, could be beef, could be fish, right? Salmon, cod, shrimp, lobster, etc. And then also a source of carb, right? It could be rice, it could be potatoes, it could be pasta, it could be spaghetti, it could be, if you really want, oatmeal. But the goal is to take a quality source of protein and carb for each and every meal. Breakfast, I usually keep the same at eggs and oatmeal, but then lunch and dinner, you can kind of switch them around. And so then dinner's the exact same. It's like, okay, what should I have for dinner? Chicken and rice, pasta and salmon, or steak and potatoes. And then for a snack, having a high protein snack, like a protein bar, having like pure protein, has 20 grams of protein. Greek yogurt has anywhere from 15 to 20 grams of protein. You could have, what else could you have? Any like things that have peanut butter, like if you did like, banana and peanut butter, or you did, apples and cheese and peanut butter. Those are all good snacks. And then in terms of like after you work out, that's the most important to get the most amount of protein. And so if I'm working out at night, then after I'll make sure that I have a meal with it, which is, the same, the chicken, the rice, etc. But I'll have a protein shake with it. And then in terms of protein shakes, you can either do pre-made or homemade. Pre-made is where you buy it at the store. You're having like Premier Protein. It could be, I mean, there's so many other ones, but just a protein shake. Aim for about 30 grams of protein for a protein shake. And then also you could make your own, where you blend up the ingredients. And the pro to making your own is that, one, you control the amount of protein that you have, right? A 1 scoop of gold standard whey protein is gonna have 24 to 25 grams of protein, but that doesn't mean you only need to put 1 in. Like sometimes I'll put 2 in, so I'll have 50 grams of protein, and then I'll add peanut butter on top. So my protein shakes could be up to 75 grams of protein. And you can add other ingredients too, right? You can add some oats, you can add almond milk or water, you could add a banana, add some peanut butter in there, add some berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, etc. When I really want, I'll add in like ice cream or chocolate chips just to make it more calorie dense and even make it taste a little bit better. But that's how you want to go about your nutrition. You want to keep it very simple. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to restrict any type of food groups like carbs. Some people do no protein, which that's nuts. I would never do that. And you don't. And some people will do like intermittent fasting where they restrict their time. I don't necessarily agree with that either. Just because if you're working out in the morning and you're not eating before, then you're not going to be. It goes back to the analogy I was saying earlier of a car, right? And if you look at each workout as right, so a marathon is essentially a car going from across the country, but each workout could be a car going to a different state, right? And so if you're low on energy, or you're not feeling well, or you're just not performing as well, the first thing I would look at is if you're eating before a workout or not. You're gonna notice you're gonna feel better, you're gonna have more high energy. Now, if you're doing just a shorter run or a short workout, yeah, you can get away with that. But the longer workouts and longer runs where you're pushing yourself harder, it's higher intensity, you definitely wanna get something in you before you eat. And then now, so what are the foods you should avoid? I don't necessarily think you should avoid any food. I think it's more based on a framework of when you should eat them. Because like I was saying, if you cut out, let's say you have a sweet tooth, right? And you're like, okay, I'm going to cut out sweets until my marathon. Okay, well, you can try that and you may succeed for a couple months, but can you do it for a couple years? Can you do it for decades? And that's the goal with health and fitness, is that you do this for the rest of your life. And if you try to cut out your favorite foods, then you simply just won't be able to maintain it and sustain it. And so what I would recommend, like I was saying earlier, is having a framework where it's a rewards-based system, where let's say you set a PR, you run a farther distance than you ever ran before, you enjoy yourself. Maybe you lift heavier weight than you've ever done before, then you reward yourself. Or another thing I've done is I will eat my cheat meals on the days where I burn more energy and calories. And so on my long runs or on my leg day, those two workouts of the week require more effort, energy, calories. And if I want to, replenish the calories I just burned, well, then I'll have like a full-size pizza or a burger, right after I work out, just to get those calories back in. And that's the best way to go about it. Now, alcohol, depending on who you listen to, like if you listen to Andrew Huberman, he says that alcohol is poison, it's bad, and that no drinks are good drinks. And I'm more on that side of the spectrum rather than just being a full-blown alcoholic. And so if you can minimize or reduce alcohol, you're way better off. And I'll give you an example. I was working with a client last year. He came to me, he said he's not progressing as well as he would hoped, he's not recovering as well. And we were talking, and he was like, yeah, I go out to happy hour Monday through Friday. I was like, dude, you're hurting yourself. Like, your pre-workout drink cannot be a beer. It can't be alcohol. And I said, hey, don't drink alcohol for 6 weeks. And then that was when his marathon was, and he did a whole lot better, right? He got stronger, runs were better, he recovered better, and he did better on his marathon. And so the more you can restrain or avoid drinking alcohol, the better you are. And so that's kind of my last little point there. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, share it. Let other people know share it to one other person that is also a friend of yours that's running, that would get value out of this. All right, see you.